July 4th, 1187. The Horns of Hattin. Two volcanic peaks rising from the Galilean desert, watching over a battlefield that would change the course of history. 20,000 Crusaders, the largest army the Kingdom of Jerusalem had ever assembled, dying of thirst under the merciless sun. Surrounded, trapped, doomed. And orchestrating their destruction was one man called Salahuddin Ayyubi. The West called him Salahuddin. The Muslim world called him the champion of Islam. For 88 long years, the Crusaders had occupied Jerusalem. But in one scorching day, everything would change. This is the story of the Battle of Hattin, the battle that united the ummah, destroyed a kingdom, and liberated Al-Quds. To understand Hattin, we must first understand what the Crusaders had taken. In 1099, the armies of the First Crusade breached Jerusalem's walls. What followed was one of history's most brutal massacres. For 3 days, Crusader knights slaughtered every Muslim and Jew they could find, men, women, children. The chronicler Reynald of Aguilers wrote that in the Al-Aqsa mosque, men rode in blood up to their knees and bridle reins. 70,000 souls perished. For nearly 90 years, the Muslim world had bled. The Crusader state stretched from Antioch to the Red Sea, but the ummah was divided. Damascus fought Aleppo, Egypt stood apart. Disunity was Islam's greatest enemy. By the 1180s, the Kingdom of Jerusalem was fracturing from within. The young king, Baldwin IV, the leper king, had held the kingdom together through sheer force of will. Despite his body rotting from leprosy, he had defeated Salahuddin at the Battle of Montgizar in 1177, where 500 knights routed Salahuddin's army of 26,000. But when Baldwin died in 1185, the throne passed into chaos. First to his nephew, a sickly child who died within the year, then to Guy de Lusignan, a French nobleman who had married Baldwin's sister, Sibylla. Guy was handsome, charming, and utterly incompetent. The kingdom's nobles split into two factions. The war party, led by Reynald de Châtillon and the Grand Master of the Templars, demanded aggression. The peace party, led by Raymond of Tripoli, urged strategic patience. Raymond understood what Guy did not. The Crusader kingdom could only survive through careful diplomacy and defensive warfare. They were outnumbered 20-1. Only division among Muslim rulers had kept them safe. But Reynald de Châtillon was a man of bottomless arrogance. From his fortress of Kerak, perched high on a cliff in Transjordan, Reynald terrorized Muslim trade routes. He violated every truce, attacked pilgrims traveling to Mecca, and even planned raids on the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Muslim chroniclers called him Arnat, the most hated name in Islam. In early 1187, Reynald committed his greatest crime. A massive caravan traveling from Cairo to Damascus, carrying goods worth over 200,000 dinars, passed near Kerak. Reynald struck, seizing the wealth and enslaving the travelers. Among them was Salahuddin's own sister. When word reached Salahuddin in Damascus, he wept with rage. He sent envoys to King Guy, demanding the prisoners be freed and compensation paid. Guy, who feared Reynald more than he respected his own word, did nothing. Reynald's reply was mockery. "Let your Muhammad come and free them," he sneered to Salahuddin's ambassadors. That moment sealed his fate. Salahuddin swore by Allah he would kill Reynald with his own hands. But Salahuddin's answer was not just vengeance, it was purpose. For years he had been working toward one goal, the unification of the ummah. Born in Tikrit in 1137, Salahuddin came from a Kurdish military family. He rose to power in Egypt as vizier, then sultan, overthrowing the Fatimid dynasty and restoring Sunni rule. But Egypt alone was not enough. One by one, he brought the Muslim lands under his banner: Damascus in 1174, Aleppo in 1183, Mosul in 1186. Each victory brought him closer to his dream: a united Islamic front capable of liberating Jerusalem. Muslim scholars rallied to his cause. The great jurist Qadi al-Fadil, his chancellor, wrote letters proclaiming the coming war as a sacred duty. This was not conquest for glory, it was jihad in defense of the faith. Justice for the massacres of 1099, justice for decades of Crusader occupation. In March 1187, Salahuddin called for full mobilization. His message reached every corner of the Muslim world. The infidels have violated their oaths. They have shed Muslim blood. Jerusalem calls to us. The response was overwhelming. Warriors came from Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and distant Persia. Kurds, Arabs, Turks, united by faith. By May 1187, Salahuddin commanded 30,000 men, 12,000 cavalry, the finest horsemen in the world, 18,000 infantry, and ranks of mangonels and siege engines. On June 26, 1187, Salahuddin crossed the Jordan River into Crusader territory. His target, the fortress of Tiberias, commanded by Reynald of Tripoli's wife, Esheva. But Tiberias was not his real objective. It was bait. Salahuddin understood his enemies' weaknesses, their pride, their divisions, their refusal to accept retreat. He knew that besieging Tiberias would force the Crusaders to choose: stay behind their walls or march out into the burning desert. Salahuddin was counting on their pride. News of Tiberias reached the Crusader leadership at Safaria, a fortress beside natural springs, the last reliable water before the desert. Reynald of Tripoli pleaded with King Guy. "Do not march," he urged. "Tiberias is my castle. My wife is there. But one fortress is not worth the destruction of this kingdom. Let Salahuddin waste his strength on stone walls while we stay here, supplied and safe." But Reynald de Châtillon and the Grand Master of the Templars would not hear it. "Cowardice," they called Raymond's council. "The Count wants us to cower while Muslims burn his wife's castle. What will our enemies think?" Guy, weak and desperate to prove his courage, made the fatal decision. The army would march. On the morning of July 3rd, 1187, 20,000 Crusaders left the springs of Safaria and marched east into the desert. Knights in full armor, infantry bearing heavy weapons, bishops carrying the true cross, the most sacred relic in Christendom. Within hours, the heat became unbearable. Knights collapsed inside their armor, horses died of thirst, and all around them, Muslim cavalry shadowed their every move. Salahuddin's forces did not attack. They watched, waited, let the sun do their work. By afternoon, the Crusader army was dying on its feet. Guy ordered camp to be made near the twin peaks called the Horns of Hattin. No water, no relief, surrounded by an enemy they could not reach. That night, Muslim archers rained arrows into the camp. Salahuddin's men set fire to the dry grass, filling the air with choking smoke. The Crusaders could not sleep, could not drink, could only wait for the dawn. July 4th, 1187. 87. Dawn broke over the battlefield. Salahuddin positioned his 30,000 men in a perfect tactical formation, cavalry on the wings, infantry in the center, archers ready. The Crusaders, exhausted, dehydrated, desperate, tried to form defensive lines. Then Salahuddin gave the order, set the grass on fire. Flames roared across the dry plain. Thick black smoke engulfed the Crusader army. Men choked. Vision vanished. Heat pressed down like a physical weight. And through the smoke came the Muslim cavalry. The battle was not a clash of equals. It was a slaughter. Crusader knights, weakened by thirst and heat, could barely lift their weapons. Muslim warriors struck again and again, cutting through the exhausted Europeans like wheat. The Crusader infantry tried to flee uphill toward the horns of Hattin. Muslim forces pursued them relentlessly. Arrows raining down, cavalry charges shattering their ranks. Men fell by the hundreds. Raymond of Tripoli, seeing the battle was lost, charged through a gap in the Muslim lines with a handful of knights. Salahuddin's men let him pass. Better to let a few escape than lose focus on the greater victory. The Templar Knights made a final stand on the hilltop. These warrior monks, the elite of the Crusader host, fought with the fury of men who knew they would die. White mantles turned red, swords broke, no retreat, no surrender. But courage could not overcome numbers, thirst, and exhaustion. One by one, the Templars fell. The last symbol of Crusader resistance was King Guy's red royal tent on the hilltop. Salahuddin watched from his command post. His son, thrilled by the carnage, cried out, "We have won! The enemy is broken." Salahuddin gripped his arm. "Be silent," he said. "We have not won until that tent falls." Moments later, the tent collapsed. The true cross, the sacred relic that had led the Crusaders into battle, was captured. The bishops who bore it were slain. Muslim warriors raised the cross upside down and dragged it through the dust. For the Christians, it was the ultimate humiliation. For the Muslims, divine justice. King Guy, Reynald de Châtillon, and the greatest nobles of the kingdom were taken prisoner. The Grand Masters of both the Templars and the Hospitallers were captured. Balian of Ibelin, one of the few capable commanders, was seized. Of the 20,000 who had marched from Syria, fewer than 3,000 escaped. 15,000 lay dead. Nearly 2,000 were captured, every senior nobleman in the Kingdom of Jerusalem among them. The Crusader army, and with it, the Kingdom of Jerusalem, had ceased to exist. In Salahuddin's tent after the battle, 2 men awaited their fate. King Guy de Lusignan and Reynald de Châtillon knelt before the Sultan, exhausted and defeated. The heat of the battle had passed, but the reckoning had only begun. Salahuddin called for water and offered it to King Guy. The king, parched from the desert ordeal, drank deeply. In Arab tradition, to share water was to offer safety, a sacred bond between host and guest. Guy, unaware of the custom, passed the cup to Reynald. Salahuddin's expression hardened. "You gave him water." "I did not." He turned to face Reynald directly, the man who had terrorized Muslim caravans for years, who had broken every truce, mocked the Prophet, and attacked Salahuddin's own sister. "How many times have you sworn oaths and violated them?" Salahuddin demanded. "How many Muslims have you murdered in times of peace?" Reynald, defiant even in defeat, spat back his contempt. "Kings have always acted thus. I did nothing more than follow the traditions of my kind." Salahuddin rose to his feet. "Then I will show you how we deal with oath breakers." He drew his sword and struck Reynald across the shoulder. His guards stepped forward to finish what the Sultan had begun, the oath Salahuddin had sworn months before, fulfilled. King Guy, watching in terror, collapsed backward. He thought his life would end the same way. But Salahuddin wiped his blade and turned to the trembling king, his voice calm. "Do not be afraid. A king does not kill a king. That man's crimes demanded justice. Yours do not. Guy would live. He would be ransomed. But his kingdom was finished." The Battle of Hattin had broken the Crusader army. 20,000 men had marched into the desert. Fewer than 3,000 survived. Every major noble was dead or captured. The military orders, the backbone of the kingdom's defense, were shattered. The castles and fortresses of the Kingdom of Jerusalem stood empty, their garrisons dead at Hattin. There was no army to defend them, no knights to man the walls, no hope of relief. Within weeks, Salahuddin's forces swept through the kingdom like a flood. Tiberias fell. Acre surrendered. Jaffa opened its gates. Castle after castle, city after city, one by one, they yielded to the inevitable. By September, only a handful of strongholds remained in Christian hands. Tyre, defended by Conrad of Montferrat, a few desert castles, and in the heart of it all, defenseless and exposed, stood Al-Quds, Jerusalem. The city that had been torn from Muslim hands 88 years before, the third holiest site in Islam, the place where the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. The jewel Salahuddin had spent his life preparing to reclaim. On September 20th, 1187, Salahuddin's army surrounded Jerusalem. Inside the walls, Balian of Ibelin, freed from captivity to evacuate his family, became the city's reluctant defender. He knighted every boy over 16, armed the people, and prepared for siege. But there would be no repeat of 1099, no massacre, no rivers of blood. Salahuddin sought not revenge, but justice. After brief negotiations, Jerusalem surrendered on October 2nd, 1187. The terms were generous beyond belief. Christians who could pay ransom were freed. Those who could not, Salahuddin paid for them himself. Churches were protected. Lives were spared. Mercy was shown. On Friday, October 9th, 1187, the anniversary of the Prophet's night journey, Salahuddin entered Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Crusader cross was removed from the dome of the rock, and the call to prayer rose once more over Jerusalem. After 88 years, the holy city had returned to Muslim hands. The Battle of Hattin had changed history. It destroyed a kingdom. It liberated Jerusalem. And it proved that Muslim unity, grounded in justice, strategy, and faith, could achieve the impossible. Salahuddin's name would be remembered for 1,000 years, not merely as a conqueror, but as a champion of mercy in an age of brutality.